2, 1. And we are live. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Trammell. I'm the creator, developer, and head coach of the Author Launchpad and host of the Author Launchpad Livecast. And today is an extraordinarily special day because normally I do these on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time. But this guest that I will be introducing to you in just a few moments was such awesome. Like just how generous, kind, and gracious this guest has been since when we first began communicating in the DMs of LinkedIn. I said, yes, whatever we got to do to have you on, we'll have you on. So it is a Author Launchpad Livecast special edition this Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific time, right here. And if you've been with me before, one of the things that I always ask you to do is to go to wherever you're streaming, because tech gremlins happen. I know you're authors. I know you're speakers. You're not technicians, right? And Zoom's pretty good to us. So I'm going to go right now to Chris Trammell Coaching, and it says I'm live, and I'm going to make sure that I'm actually live. And I hear the dings of guests coming in. So I'm going to make sure that I'm actually live. Sounds live. Perfect. I'm going to close that. Now I'm going to copy that link right there. And I'm going to go ahead and move this over to share, copy link. I'm going to put in the Author Launchpad, which is our private group for those of you that are part of the Author Launchpad. I'm going to paste it right there. And as guests continue to come in, here's one of the things that I know some of you like to start right on time. Allow the bots, allow Mark Zuckerberg's bots and the Facebook bots and the notifications to let people in. It is okay if we learn about the weather and we do what we got to do. In the last place, I'm going to make sure, because I got it ready to go, is right here inside of LinkedIn, paste and post, and it is up. Beautiful. All right. With that being said,
wonderful.
Now I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Allow me to introduce today's guest. And I need all the time today to be with today's guest. Marissa Eigenbrood, I got that correct, right?
You did.
Very good, very good. I know. Is the president of Smith Publicity, located in New Jersey. She is a book marketing and publicity expert. She and her team at Smith Publicity have handled public relations for thought leaders and authors for over 75,000 media placement appearances and counting. I just asked her, how long have you been doing this for? She said, started as a senior publicist over 15 years ago this week. It's her anniversary this week of 15 years of doing this. Marissa's continued to grow in her skills, her professional portfolio, and the impact that she has on the writer, author, difference maker landscape, helping them get their work out to the world. She also has her own newsletter. So I'm going to show this later on in the show. It's called Boost Your Book, Marketing and Publicity Tips and Industry Insights and Resources to help you market your book with massive success. She is a champion for you to win if you are getting your book, your expertise, your thought leadership out to the world. It has over 6,000 subscribers. I would like for you to be a subscriber to that. So go find her on LinkedIn. And one of the things that I love most when I was doing my homework on Marissa is that she is a proud mama of a 1-year-old little boy named Lucas. So I'm going to let our other guests come moving on in now. And I am going to bring at Spotlight everybody. Marissa Eigenbrood. I knew I was going to do that because so close to Lord of the Rings. But I say that sometimes.
Sure.
Marissa Eigenbrood, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the Author Launchpad. I appreciate you having here.
Oh my gosh, Chris, what an introduction. Thank you so much for having me here. And I said this, I think, in my even post about our conversations today. I loved our first conversation together. And so bringing it over here to share with others, I learned so much from you and what you do too. I know, gosh, this is supposed to be like the spotlight on me, but I want to bring it back on you too, because what you do feeds into what we do and just takes all authors to the next level in their
Mhm.
work. And so I'm just really excited to be here today with you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I'm letting guests in. Just want to make sure everybody's coming in. For anybody that's here from Smith Publicity, that they have that opportunity to hear you, because I know how busy your schedule you have. You were just in New York yesterday, doing what in New York?
Yeah, gosh, I went in on Wednesday afternoon, right from the office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, to an event with Women's Media Group. It was a women entrepreneurs, women in business event, roundtable event, which was really interesting. Learned a lot, shared a lot. And then yesterday was had a really great meeting with a book coach that we work with who lives in Australia. She happened to be in the area, so got to see her. We were to
Wow.
lunch. Kelly Irving, shout out. And then went to a client event. Jeannie Chang, one of our authors, published with Wiley. It's a book that came out this week called How K-Dramas Can Transform Your Life. And she had an event at the W83 Ministry Center yesterday evening and had a beautiful crowd turn out, just signing books and talking and sharing so much beautiful information about mental health. And it was just in time for a NHPI Heritage Month. So yeah, all over the place. And got home at 9:30 and now back into work in the day, and as I share with you, was feeding Lucas lunch on a call right before this, and then jumped into our conversation. So that's everybody's life today, I think, not just working moms, but everybody.
Very good, Marissa. You are fantastic. And I see we also have another guest here. Tim Jacobs is an alumni of the show. Tim, I'm going to make you a co-host for me, Tim. He is also located on the East Coast. Tim and Marissa, you both have co-hosts. So if people show up, we can let them in. But you and I, Marissa, are going to be spotlighted on this. And Tim, you get to also handle, and when you got to go, master control. If anybody starts talking, mute them until they raise their hand. So there you go. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've been with me before, you know I take notes. This is the teacher in me. I like to keep track of things because, Marissa, if I get off track, I get too excited. My fanboy of you comes out. Just nudge us back to where we need to be, okay?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, listen, I'm known for my tangents too and telling very long, detailed stories. So I will try to contain myself as well. The two of us might be a dangerous combination, Chris.
I think so. All right. So let's go ahead and start with the easy ones. What do you do? What do you do at Smith Publicity?
What do I do? Absolutely. So it's such a loaded question, I think, today, but I am our company president. In the simplest terms, my job is really broken down in a large component of business development, if you will. So really working with a lot of our prospective potential authors that we'll be working with on really figuring out what their needs are, where it's not just about launching a book anymore. It's why are you launching this book? What do you hope to achieve with this book on the market, having it as part of your credentials, as part of your brand platform. And, ultimately we hope to get to that publicity, kind of finish line. Hey, you're launching a book. You're ready to get your name, your messages, your stories out there to the world. But are you ready for the attention and the awareness on the other side? So we start talking about this other puzzle pieces we need to fit in, to it overall to get ready for that publicity. How do we build out your brand ecosystem as part of all of that? And so that's a big part, and a really fun part of my work is just having those great dialogues with individuals who come to us. And I love opening someone's eyes up to, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about there was more than just writing the book. And what other things I can be doing, which is a lot where you come in there, Chris, too, in the mix. And so that's a part of my work. It's one of the hats. I don't know if you remember the Dr. Seuss book, Bartholomew Cubbins, who wore all the hats. So I feel like him sometimes when someone asks me what I do. It's a little bit of that. But the other side is really truly supporting our team is how I like to describe it. So how do I figure out what our team needs? We're about 30 people in our organization, and all based all over the country. We have a big group that works out of our Cherry Hill office, but also we love to find talent where it exists too. And so we have team members all over the country who work remotely, and it's really figuring out, everything from benefits to, resources for campaigns, to troubleshooting problems, to figuring out how we build new and stronger media relationships. To we find great partners in the industry to be working with, and so it's a constant changing up of mindsets and hats in the mix there, but it keeps it interesting, it keeps it fun, and it really feeds my soul in just being able to help people, whether it's our authors or our team, on an everyday basis.
I love that, Marissa. Thank you so much for that. So I really heard the way you unfolded. You help the team, well, you support the team, and you support the clients, for both of them to realize what their work is. Team to support client, and you supporting team to support clients so that they can make the difference out in the world that they're out to make.
You got it. I love it.
Wow.
Beautifully summed up. As I said, I tend to go on a little bit. So
it is perfect. You're doing great, and thank you so much. How'd you get started? Like, come on, you're the president, Marissa. You look like you're just out of college, and you had a baby. But how are you the president? How did you get started such that you are the president of Smith Publicity?
My goodness. Oh, thank you. It's been a journey. It's been a surprising journey along the way. I will kind of rewind a little bit here. I started when I was going to college. I knew that I wanted to study PR. I knew it was a space that was really exciting to me. I would get a chance to write a lot, but not have to write as much as you do in journalism. So that's what kind of pushed that over to the side. I liked the interaction that came with publicity versus maybe being a little behind the scenes with marketing sometimes, or advertising, as I thought about the world of communications. And so PR was always, kind of on the horizon for me and what I wanted to focus on. At the time, I kind of had these thoughts of, PR in New York City and entertainment PR and all of that, and had no idea that the book world wasn't even an option for me. And I graduated college in 2008. So yes, you can do the math. I'll be 38 this year. And it wasn't a great time to try to find a job. We were in the middle of a recession. And about a year, so I started at internships. I was doing different things for about a year after college, and just, keeping experience building. And through a mutual friend, heard about this, unique little book publicity agency of, probably only about 10 or so people at the time in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I said, book publicity, what is that? So I went in for an interview, really had a great conversation with Dan, our founder, and joined the team as a publicist. What has always been such a beautiful thing about working at Smith is that if you see an area where you want to learn more, where you're excited to dive in a little deeper or something, the door is always open to give it a shot. And so I saw that with business development. I saw, hey, I like the execution side, but I would love to jump in a little sooner. So I started wearing dual hats in that and doing both sides of the work there. And then as I learned more about that, I got a chance to see a little bit more behind the scenes. I started moving into publicity leadership positions as a team leader that we had, and then also saw an opportunity for some better processes and stuff as we got bigger as a company too. And so that just kind of kept pushing me in this path where I ended up wearing more and more hats over time, not really letting go of the other elements. I did have to let go of the day-to-day publicity execution a few years ago in running our campaigns. And that was hard because that was where it all started, but just seeing exactly how you summed it up, that I can have that same kind of impact and create that same kind of value for our team, and for even being able to be their cheerleader truly through the business development work that I get to do, and everything. That's what has led me to where I am now. So Dan, who I mentioned earlier, has moved back into kind of founder status, semi-retirement, if you will. And Sandy is our CEO now. And so Sandy and I work in, very close step together. We are just each other's right-hand person in all that we do. And it's just a really beautiful, kind of relationship that we get to have. And again, as I said, kind of the entire way, my voice has just been heard, and I've had the opportunity to explore the spaces that have excited me, that I, never imagined that I'd kind of be where I am today. No matter what the company would have been, if you asked me 15 years ago, will you be president of a PR company? I was like, I don't know, but here we are, and I'm so glad that that's where we are.
Wow, Marissa, what you demonstrate, I got to call it out. Oftentimes people think it's the widgets, it's the chrome wheels, it's all the bells and whistles. You demonstrate it is the energy, the conviction, and the competency to champion something forward is what people buy first. And then they look at, okay, now do you have the smarts? Do you have the experience? Do you have the resources? Do you have everything else? Because how you just showed up right now, I'd be like, I want that woman on my team.
Thank you.
I want that woman right there running into me, naive, ignorant, but we're going to run into the party and we're going to sell them on my book, my publicity, whatever it is. Like,
thank you so much,
radiate
Chris.
the energetics of success and difference making.
I appreciate that. I think that positivity and optimism go a really long way. I get that with you too. I really feel that, and that's why we get along so well. Yeah. And I think that carries a lot of power that people don't realize. And I think that there's also, I've learned this in a lot of the hard ways too, but the more authentic you can be in your work, the better. And I have just I've tried to be my truest self. I remember years and years ago, someone told me, there's no crying in business. And I'm a crier.
There's no crying in baseball.
You might not. Oh, yes, right. I'm like, you haven't learned this about me yet, but I am a crier. I will cry at the drop of a hat. And I someone else later on, I brought it to a kind of a business mentor person in my life, who I said, someone told me that one day. And this other mentor, he said, if that's who you are, then cry. It's okay. He's like, there's a time and a place sometimes to how much we cry, maybe, but it's good to let it out. It's good to be who you are and the feelings that you have and emotions. I think that also the world we're in today is allowing so much more of that authenticity and vulnerability. And I really appreciate that. So really, really glad for it.
So well said. One of the things that I see, what I've learned now inside of the marketing and reaching out to people is Facebook is kind of the land of the emotions, where we emote, we got more emojis. LinkedIn, we show up buttoned up, we show up polished, right? It's our best professional picture, which doesn't always lend itself to that authenticity you just described, right? So we're showing our best business face when we really want to connect with our emotional biologic mirror neurons of do you see me and I see you and we could partner up, but we got to be able to deliver it in a professional manner. And it's when we could bring both together, and you illustrated that beautifully right now. So
yes, no, you said that's so great. I think that there's also in our world of publishing and working with authors, and there are so many people who offer so many different kinds of beautiful services, publishing options and such out there today. And I think we have been more successful as a whole, as a company, by finding the right people to partner with, who share the same values, who share the same energy. And not everyone shares, and that's okay. And we're not all going to be the right fit for each other. But it is really incredible when we do find the people who we connect with in that way, and just the things that we can achieve for the authors we get to work with together. Because nobody does anything by themselves anymore. It is a team approach.
No, very good. Yeah, it is a team approach. We think that we could do it all on our own. No, you need the team. It's not only, it takes a village to raise a kid, it takes a village to raise a book as well.
Yes. 100%. You're so right on that, Chris.
All right. Here's a question before I introduce the guest. So any guests, if you want to come off camera, I'm going to introduce you in a second. So that way Marissa knows you and you know Marissa, because trust me, you both want to know each other. Have you, I got to ask this question. Have you worked with anyone famous? Have you, anybody that you got a little starstruck by? You're like, oh my God.
So,
And
you know, I
those
was
you
like
could
to say,
say that you don't have an agreement not to say that we work.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're all good. Yeah, it's over. You know, I was like to share too. It's funny, family and friends will ask me that, like, who have you worked with that I would know? And I always like to share that often those people have a lot. They're have big publishers behind them with big in-house support behind them too.
Yeah.
So they might not need the outside publicity support. Um, but not necessarily a household name, but someone who we got to work with. That was really special to me. And this is actually, I got to be the publicist on the project too from forever ago, was a guy named Peter Engel.
Oh,
And not everybody, Peter Engel is like, why do I know that name? Is often kind of what I
right.
hear with that. If you've watched Saved by the Bell at all, at the very end of every Saved by the Bell episode, across the screen says, created by Peter Engel.
Yeah.
And so I got to work with the guy who created Saved by the Bell, the
Wow.
guy, and he also created Sweet Valley High, which again, these were shows that I grew up watching too. So it was really fun. And he wrote a book called I Was Saved by the Bell, and it was his memoir. And so that's just what I love to bring up in that way, because for me, I was starstruck. During that campaign, there was they did a pop-up of the Max, the restaurant that they used to go to in Saved by the Bell. They did a pop-up restaurant that replicated the Max in Chicago, and I got to go with Peter to some events in Chicago, and we had an event there at the Max, and I have photos of me like holding the phone like Zach did in the show and all, and it was just, that one lives in infamy on my roster of things that I've gotten to work on. So it's, again, it's not like John Grisham or J.K. Rowling we're pulling out of our pocket here, but Peter Engel was pretty special for me to be a part of. Yeah.
Really awesome. You made a really great distinction. You talked about the big houses, the big five, as everybody refers to them. I get Smith Publicity is not part of the big five. However, it doesn't mean that you and your team don't give any less, if not more, one-to-one connectedness than maybe what the big houses do offer their clients. So
Sure.
What separates you and Smith Publicity then? Because not everybody, we'll go into the little philosophy parts about why I kind of contrast up against the industry a little bit, but I want to hear yours first. Like, you're right there, like,
Sure.
hey guys, trust us. We're
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, and I'll say, I'll preface that with, like, we do work with some authors who are published through the big five sometimes, and it's, you know, sometimes it's depends on where you fall in the catalog of, you know, of how much energy that, listen, and I get this, no matter what publisher it is, every in-house publicist is stretched. Every in-house publicist at any publisher, no matter the size, has to work on a lot of books. And
Right.
so I very much, you know, understand they're pulled in a lot of directions. And so they can only apply so much time to each project they're on. And so there are times where we come in and supplement the efforts of internal publicists that are working on projects, or we get to work with those who are independently publishing or hybrid publishing, where there might not be any in-house support at all, and we get to come in and provide that support. So that is something about Smith, in that we work with individual small publishing paths. It's really about finding the ones who we connect with in the right ways and can benefit from our work. I think one of the key differentiators, though, between I would say, you know, us and the in-house publicist, and then just Smith as a whole, is that, you know, when in many instances it's the author who's coming in hiring us directly, and for a publisher, rightfully so, they're focusing on the book. They want the book to succeed. They're a lot of times they're aiming for book-centric coverage, you know, and kind of longer lead time and further in advance of the publication date of the book. Where we get to come in is we get to support the author's goals in particular. And for a lot of authors, it is book sales. But we talk about the fact that book sales are going to probably most likely come from your network and from the other channels that you have available, the other pieces of that brand ecosystem, than
Yes.
they are from just selling a book. It's really hard to just sell a book anymore. And so we talk about, you know, how are you selling book? By building trust in who you are and what you have to say, building interest in your expertise and your stories and your insights. And then that brings more people into your world to want to take further action, to invest in you by buying your book and such. And so our approach gets to be focused on efforts and energies that really benefit the goals of the author in particular in most cases. Some publishers will hire us for accounts too, but in the majority of it, we're focusing on the author here. What I'll share too of a real differentiator is that even, I say this to so many authors, while we are a book publicity and marketing agency, we don't put all of our eggs in the publication date basket. What I mean by that is we want to celebrate that the book is launching. And if your goals are to be a New York Times bestseller, we want to try to support that and talk about all the layers of working toward that we need to be thinking about and working toward together. But if you come to me and you say, no, my author goals are to elevate my authority in this space, to bring more people into a course that I offer, or to develop a course that I want to have in conjunction with the book, is to have more speaking opportunities or elevate my speaking, then we really want to talk about how we reach your target audience. And that goes well beyond just celebrating the fact that a book is coming out. I mean, let's be real, there's a lot of books coming out every day. Nobody cares that you wrote a book so much. It's they care about what's the value, what are you providing?
No
I know.
I put so much time in my book.
I know.
But
they're going to care when they trust you. They're going to care when they trust you. And that's what it's all about, And so they're going to care that Chris wrote his book versus that there just happens to be another book out in the world. That's what we want to think about. And so what that allows us to do in that mindset, that framing, is within our publicity campaigns, is to talk about how we're elevating your brand, how we go after the opportunities in media that are going to bring bigger media names behind your names. You have those logos to celebrate, to be on the Today Show, to be in, the Washington Post, in Huffington Post, those logos help with brand elevation. But are they really reaching your target audience? And are the formats of coverage that we're garnering, is that reaching your target audience in the right way? So that's where we lean into, especially for experts and those interested in authority building, we lean into things like byline articles, like podcast interviews, expert commentary and features and such, Q&As with not only mainstream media, but also really, kind of focused audience and industry centric media too. So we're really reaching those decision makers that are going to take action and kind of help with those goals that you're eager to seek out. And so that audience and industry centric component is often where we found that the traditional in-house publicist and a publisher, they don't have the time to be able to dive in and find where are all of those right places where this project should live. They can go after the mainstream stuff, but they need to they don't have the luxury of time that we get to have in our full campaign to dive deep into that space that can be really impactful.
Really, yeah, I really hear the nimbleness that you described inside of that as well. So I want to stop because 5 minutes have went by and it's already 30 minutes in.
Here we go, right?
We haven't even went into the deep water. We're just like up to our waist right now. So I'd like to introduce Tim Jacobs to you for a moment. He's one of the guests on. He has been here. Let me add him on. And then I see there's a Nicole as well, but Tim came on. Tim Jacobs, he's extraordinary. He is also part of the independent publishing world, and he's working on Tim, if I remember correctly, it's a thriller you were working on, or a mystery book. But in any case, Marissa, meet Tim Jacobs. Tim, what would you like to say about yourself, and any question from Marissa that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Marissa and I met, I want to say maybe 3-4 months ago. We spent a good hour together chatting away.
I'm glad to see you here, Tim.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're definitely connected on LinkedIn, and we definitely are staying in touch there. So that's awesome. My question would just be, and Chris knows this of me. I am all about it is a team. It's an entire team putting together your book, whether it's the writing, the editing, the book cover, just all the steps. My question would be, what is it you look for, or how is it you make your roster of players that come in to back an author's project?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Tim. It really comes down to those conversations around what their needs are, and what really looking at what gaps need to be filled in the process. So there are, I'll give you an example of someone we're working with right now who, you know, has his book proposal. It's being shopped around, but he doesn't have an author personal brand website yet. And so we're actually, so that's where we're talking about, okay, who are some of the different website developers that we want to think about and different resources to bring in? You know, you don't have any social media set up yet. What channel should that be? And who can help out with those resources and the ideas of content strategy to think about there? You know, we also will have, let's say, an author we've already worked with on one book launch, and they're starting another one, and they say, oh gosh, next one, I'm so busy at this last launch. I have this other idea, but I need help with ghostwriting this next time around. Okay. Well, where are your needs? How do we connect you with the right ghostwriters we might know, who are going to come in with the right experience and portfolio and such to support you in that. And so it's really listening. It's really, you know, kind of deep diving into where they are, what their needs are. And, you know, we love to do a lot of strategic direction too. If we might not be able to do all the execution within our team on certain things, especially when it comes to the marketing of it. But, you know, we really love to be a part of the overall kind of quarterbacking of all the teams and the strategic direction of certain things, because ultimately that's going to set us up for success with publicity in the end. Yeah. So I feel like you're kind of lining up all the dominoes, and publicity is the last one. So let's make sure the rest are nice and straight, so it's all going off, you know, without a hitch.
I like that. I think it's finding that common bond between each player and have it be central to the author.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or at least their content.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I wish it were as simple as always saying, like, this one person is always our go-to for website development, but everybody has different needs. You know, it's always great to have a few different people who you've worked with, who you trust, who can come in at different price points, who come in with different experience and integrating different things in. So we have somebody who can add courses into the mix. You have somebody who maybe is really good at setting up Substack newsletters and kind of the strategy behind that over here, or somebody else who develops like speaker pages in particular. So you're really focusing on that world, that experience. And, you know, each of those might come with very different price points and such too. So that's always something that, you know, it would make our lives a lot easier if we just said, like, oh, we only work with people who have $10,000 budgets for websites, and we just go to this one person all the time. But that's not the world we live in, and that's also not how we approach publicity either. You know, again, it'd be a lot easier on us if we could just say our price is $10,000 per month, and then, like, no, we're nowhere near that. We know that most authors can't afford that, and so you know, we do our best to create, I like to say, Frankenstein things together, like pull a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and create our own beautiful monster together.
Awesome. Tim, how was that?
Oh, that was perfect.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you for that. And hopefully some of the other questions I asked Tim serve. And I know that right now, Tim has reached out to me and asked for a couple services that we're looking to put together. Awesome. So he has that available too, because I loved how you described the quarterbacking. And it's very similar to Tim's philosophy as well, because I've met different members on his team and have had them on. And playfully, I will say, I'm your pit crew chief, like a NASCAR. I'm the guy who's watching you race, and I'm watching how you drive, and I'm watching how you perform. I am interested in the performance of the author. I'm interested in how they show up and how they're going to lead from a stage, how they're going to be able to close from a stage, how they're going to sell from a stage, how they're going to sell virtually, because what they build is the muscle of the introvert most of the time. And then they come out of writing and they're like, I got a book. Now what?
Yeah. And that's also, I think, a big mentality shift too. You know, I'm seeing it starting to happen more and more in traditional publishing. But if you look at the timeline of what we've usually seen with individuals who maybe the publisher has a list of external publicists they might refer to, that often happens unless the author asks before this particular point. Those referrals come forward when the final manuscript is submitted. often. You know, those conversations around
Yeah.
the publisher's marketing plan really starts to kind of get underway after the final manuscript is submitted and they have that clear timeline and they've got kind of that last 6 months to launch, if you will. And what we found is that can you achieve a lot in the last 6 months? Oh, absolutely.
Right.
But if you get the chance to, you know, again, if you don't have a personal website yet, and you get a chance to get that in place, like well before that point.
Well before, yes.
Yeah, then you don't have to be sharing a book cover yet. You don't have to share any of that. But just thinking, even especially social media or a newsletter, the more time you give that for it to grow organically, then the more people you're going to have to celebrate your book with later on too, when the time comes to announce its release. So it's, I think, just shifting the mindset to the fact that marketing and publicity conversations need to start happening from day one, you know, from day zero. I think is really important. You don't have to be out there doing interviews just yet, but setting the stage for that is really important in the earlier phases.
Really great. All right, a 10-second, not 10-second, but 30-second response for both of you, just so we keep it tight, and then I'm going to come back. Oh, Tim, you left. I got one for you, but if you have to go, that's fine. Marissa, here's the question. How long, and Tim, you're next, ladies first. How long did it take you, Marissa, before you felt you got really good at what you do? Because I see the impulse is, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to sell thousands of books. I'm going to get a check. I am off to the races as an author. And I'm like, kid, there's Frost Off, there's JV, and then varsity. How long do you think it took you?
I mean, I'm probably always holding myself back, as women tend to do, and saying like, I'm still always learning, I'm still getting better all the time. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that our industry is changing so much and so rapidly all the time. The media landscape is changing so rapidly. If you asked last year what the most impactful way of getting book sales was, people probably would have said book talk. Now I hear that it's like paid subscription services and paid channels through which you already have people engaged, and then those are the people who are going to buy your book most likely. So it's just being an author is tough today, and keeping up with all of it is our job in figuring out, you know, where that is. But I would say that my confidence in what I'm sharing and all of that it probably was around 2016. Interestingly, that I can put a year on it. So it took a little while that I really started to settle into this confidence. And actually it was not just professionally related, but some personal kind of shifts that I was going through as well at that time that I think allowed me to really like lean in and into myself and my own knowledge. So yeah.
About 8 years, and what was happening in life, and that intersection of the two is like, I'm Marissa, hear me roar, I could do this.
Yeah. I think that's about it. And then certainly the LinkedIn efforts have been kind of increased over the last 2.5 years, and the response to that is also just super validating too. And like, okay, let's keep going with it. Like, helpful. It's nice to hear.
Oh, good. Tim, how about for you? We had this conversation, but how long did it take you before you're like, based on what you're doing now, it took me this long to dial it in, and now I know that I've got a recipe that works?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the exact same boat as Marissa. The landscape changes so much so quickly. It's not so much that, oh, I got it and I know it. It's that flexibility to be able to adapt and also to lean in on your team. And that literally changes for every book I write personally, as well as any client's book that we're working on, no matter what stage we're at. So I think it's definitely just comes down to, your ability to adapt, and then, just kind of lean in, either to your team or, even other people that are in the same field. Like I know I could pick up the phone and call you, Chris, at any time saying, hey, I have a question. This is what I'm going through with a client. Can you give me some advice? And I know I could do the same thing with Marissa. I could give her a message. Here's my phone number. Can you give me a call for 10 minutes? I know she's going to call me back probably within 2 or 3 days, guaranteed. And it's just having those kind of connections is also kind of, you're at that success. And definitely when those people are calling you, and I just had that yesterday, a fellow ghostwriter, not on my team, but he just says, hey, I'm going through something with a client, you got 10 minutes. And I called him, and we chatted for about 15 minutes, and he was just kind of bending my ear a bit and just at least getting my point of view. That's how you kind of know when you're there, when you have those people to reach out to, and they can reach out to you.
Awesome. Really well done.
Love that. I love that. No, I was just saying, I think that you bring such a good point there. Some of like the friendly competitors. I think that is like such a key component of all of our success today and all of us getting where we need to go. Is like, there are plenty of books for all of us to work on and plenty of authors to go around. And so the more we all just support each other, I think, we all get to like live in our own lane and our own special place a little bit. The right author is right for us. And yeah, I think that's a really beautiful thing about, I think a lot of people in the industry is like, I see more and more of that anymore, is just lifting each other up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really one of the reasons why I started the Author Launchpad Livecast, because there was a couple podcasts here and there, but I really look at the arc of the journey. I'm jumping ahead, but one of my influentials, Joseph Campbell. So I know everybody's going through some journey, and I'm like, why isn't there a channel, a space where we cover all the different aspects, where I could bring on everybody who's going to meet the hero in their journey, so that they know there's all these opportunities of meeting guests. Like 2 weeks ago, I had a young lady named Rose Friedel was on, and she's
I love Rose.
She's great. Oh yeah,
she's so great.
Tim's introduced me to a number of guests. Another out here at the Festival of Books, Susie Schaefer. I went and hung out with her at the Los Angeles Festival of Books. So there's all these individuals helping the hero make it to their Olympus, their journey, their what I say is, what's the podium in your life that I'm going to help you stand on top of, right?
Love that. Yeah.
And that's what we get to do. So Tim, speaking of podiums, I'm going to dive in with Marissa into her athletic background for a second. So thank you for being spotlighted with us. And I'll bring you back. And Tim, if you got to go, I would get it. But if not, I love having you here, and I'll bring you on one more time if you hang in there. Right on.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. So podium moments. Let's go back to our athletic world, because that's one of the spaces we connect, right? Like both of us, people are looking at us right now and all they see is 18 inches, but they don't know we're both 6 footers and we do what we do. Tell me about your athletic journey. First, just tell me about your athletic journey, and then I'll ask the question second.
Sure. So I kind of stumbled into athletics at a much later age, like formally into athletics at a much later age. But I always danced, which is certainly a form of athletics in itself. I danced for a lot of my younger years, and theater so I included dance in that too during high school and such. And when I went to college, I went to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, small liberal arts school right on the Hudson River. And on freshman move-in day, I was walking back from the bookstore, and they had a crew shell, rowing shell, boat, out on the green. And this coach goes like this and like this. And I'm like, I did one of those like the, me, like kind of things. And adding the fact that I am 6'3", so it's extra like, whoa, awesome. There's a really tall person over there. And so I was like, yeah, okay. So I come over, and they're like, do you do any sports? What are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I might do theater. I might do. Then they're like, you should try out rowing. And I had always known about rowing. Growing up in southern New Jersey, really close to Philadelphia, we have Boathouse Row. There's a very big rowing community within Philadelphia. But I went to Catholic school growing up. I didn't have a rowing program, and so it wasn't something that I was exposed to. But I was always that like, why is she not playing basketball? Question that always happened because I was so tall. But I love the arts. And so I was like, let me give this whole rowing thing a try. And 4 years later, co-captain my senior year, I made the varsity 8 boat my sophomore year. I was only a sophomore in the varsity 8 boat. first varsity. And it was just like, I loved it. I found my family there. I think that's always been like a little bit of a theme that I found is like that was my family that, you know, helped me. I was Marist about 3 hours away from home, so it wasn't like I could just kind of jump back home all the time. And I'm an only child. It was hard to leave home and be comfortable with that, but like I found my family there, and it kept me at you know, at school. I had to stay there, you know, because of practices and stuff, and really helped me settle in there a lot. I also found like my first true taste of like leadership that was really special, and the kind of leader that I wanted to be. There were, like I said, we were co-captains there, and the other co-captain, Lisa, who I loved, she was kind of like the serious one. Was always like, guys, make sure you're going for your workouts and stuff. And I was like the friend captain.
Yes.
I was like that parent. And so we were a really great combo together. And so since then, I've actually I've been back in a boat here or there, been back on a rowing machine reluctantly here and there, because I had a lot of time on those back in college. But since I'm a big I love my Peloton. I'm actually very obsessed with spin classes. And I had a little foray in being a spin instructor a few years back as well. I don't think I told you that before, Chris, but my other little sports background there.
Wow. Okay. All right. I got to do it then, just for a second, because you're begging it, and this red carpet look does not come without a woman that's not working out.
Thank you. That was just from about 4 weeks ago now, 3.5 weeks ago.
This is after having a baby?
Yeah, this is recent. This is just a couple weeks back. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm not on the spin bike as much as I would like. So I appreciate that.
Marissa, well done. All right.
Oh, thank you.
That's my professional doting on another tall one. Okay.
You're so wonderful. I mean, listen, the height helps, I will say. I'm sure you know this too. You get to, if you gain a couple pounds, you get to hide it over a lot more, you know, the height than if somebody who's like 5'2" gains 5 pounds. There's not as much of a body mass for it to go to.
All right. Let's do this. Recently, my son, last Friday, graduated from the University of Utah with his. Thank you very much.
Gosh.
Thank you very much. You're going to do the same thing someday, and I'll be seeing the pictures of you, but it's way up. It's way up.
It'll be here in a blink of an eye, though. I can't handle it.
And one of the things I asked him, I'll tell you what I was able to do with it, is I said, well, I interviewed him. And in this interview, the same way a ghostwriter interviews, the same way I'm talking to you, I interviewed him as another human being that I'm extraordinarily interested in, and what can I pull from him? And I asked him about what were some of the athletic life lessons that made a difference to him being a Division I athlete, and how it applies to his life and his work. So for you, because not all authors or many authors were Division I athletes, so there's a different mindset that you are approaching that might be sometimes unconscious or conscious in how you're working with your clients. So what are some of the athletic lessons that you bring that really makes you unique? What are some of those, like, hey, this matters?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of people, remember those posters that like you're on your wall that was like different kind of pictures, and then it was like a word underneath.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure the standard one for teamwork was a rowing a boat with rowers in it. And we even see the success of the book, The Boys in the Boat. And that was a like historical look at the Olympic team during the war, and it actually became this business book, this leadership book, that like it was used within businesses like completely unexpectedly. And so I think that's something that I always bring with me, is that it is that like cliche statement of like, we're all pulling on the same oar together. And one of the biggest things with rowing is that if you are not in sync together, if you're not rowing at the same time, the entire thing will go off course. The entire boat, you might tip over, you might catch a crab, they call it, where or flips up over your head and you can flip you out of the boat, eject you out of the boat. I mean, there's these things that can happen that if you're not in sync with each other, we see what that can do. And I think that speaks so much to, internally within our company and how, we work in being in sync. And I've seen moments where, hey, maybe communication's off in something. Maybe, we're not all on the same page, truly. We're pulling the book world too there. And how we need to realign and get back on that together. And I think that's really an important factor with an author team as well. And the team that you're assembling that we talked about is that we need to make sure everybody's really coordinated and pulling on that same oar together, and working in sync and seeing how our efforts support each other. So that mentality, just like, again, it's cliches that everybody knows, but actually like being in the boat and seeing how critically important it is that we're all rowing in sync together, that I know how important and how true those words are.
So good. Marissa, you don't have your own book yet, right?
I don't yet. And listen, I know what it takes to go into a book. So it's scary. People have asked, they're like, when are you going to write a book anytime? And I'm like, I don't know. I give so much credit to authors in jumping into all that comes beyond writing a book. It's like, it's not even just the writing the book process. It's what comes after that I've got to get some guts to do that.
Well, what I already heard is your talk from the stage and how quickly, because you've had the model of great coaches or good coaches, you've had the contrast of good cop, bad cop, good team captain, not that it was bad, but straight team captain, champion team captain, right? Mm-hmm. So you're already having these elements that, again, the hero journey needs to hear and needs guidance on. Yeah. So if there's ever a talk that you need to deliver from the stage, I know a guy out in Long Beach that really,
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Chris, it's so interesting you're saying that. It has been a very strangely like serendipitous conversation that's popping up over the last 4 weeks, and like every event that I've been to, there's been something that's coming up where it's been asked more and more. And I think what my true vulnerability right here for anybody, where I find my challenge is all I want to do is provide that really tailored, individualized guidance to each person. So scaling it back to a 30,000 foot view is where I'm figuring that out still, because I just want, each person's journey is so unique. And it's, when you think about inspiring a group and giving that guidance to a group, it's so in my my DNA to just want to like really dive in deep into each person and say, like, what are your needs? What do you want? What are you trying to achieve? And how do I help with that? So that's where I'm at with it. But I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know who to call. His initials are CT.
Anytime, Marissa. And so let's just play that for a second. We're almost hitting the end of the hour, so we're going to start to lower the plane. When I was looking for your bio and I read your LinkedIn, and your LinkedIn is all about the champion for others. And I was like, wow, she champions others. You talked about Smith, but then there was like this much about Marissa. And the part that I was able, where to go? The part, doing quality work with people you respect and genuinely like is one of the most fulfilling aspects of my career. The passion, heart, and enthusiasm I have for our work spills over into every campaign we touch. I can't wait to be part of yours. So I had to wait to the end to find you. And that's why I'm like, okay, there's a lot here, and I can't wait to see what the trajectory looks like for you to take that championing and look for what's that next elevation for you as well.
Thank you so much. I think it gives me so much joy to be able to lift up others, and as it's hard for everybody, but again, I'll go back to, I know for us ladies in particular, we have a hard time giving back to ourselves sometimes, especially when we're moms, especially when we're going and supporting everybody else. And so these conversations of late are not falling on deaf ears. I'm excited and eager to be able to share more and impact others with whatever I specifically can, but also through the beauty of Smith and being able to be in leadership there.
Yeah, well, it's hitting 12:57, and one of the more important, or for you, it's 3:57. So we got our last few minutes. I want to be mindful of people's time. I'm gonna do this. Let's go ahead and make sure that people know where. Let me minimize this and bring this forward and show this right here. So, Marissa, tell our guests listening, if it's their first time meeting Marissa, about Smith Publicity, where they could find you, how to contact you. I got it up right here on the screen. Give it a plug.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So, you're finding our website here. As I think, like, it's with anybody, we're always like, oh, I need to update that. We need to elevate this. We need to push this forward. There's always opportunity to change things on our website, but this is a great place to start. I would say, just having a direct conversation. So feel free to reach out over LinkedIn. I'm really active there. I like to share a lot of information. So just following along, learning there first, feel free to do so. Here I am. And so please connect, follow me, shoot me a message. As Chris mentioned, I have a newsletter here, which is also pulling content over from our newsletter that we have through Smith too. So you can sign up for our Smith newsletter, sign up for my LinkedIn newsletter. We have a podcast at Smith too. We have our blog. There's just a lot of great information all over the place. Education is really a big part of who we are at Smith. So we always like to say, even if we're not the right fit for someone, for whatever that reason is, we hope we can direct them in the right way, give them support, share education in some way. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there, but I truly welcome any direct conversations and insights that I can share through LinkedIn. You can also find me over email. My email's on my LinkedIn, but it is simply Marissa at smithpublicity.com. And there's my Facebook page too.
Who's this gorgeous?
That is Lily. I think I don't see she was sleeping on the floor next to me for a while, but now I actually have all three of our cats who are not featured here in the mix. That's my husband Mike, our son Lucas. We are a 76ers obsessed family, Philadelphia 76ers basketball. As you can see from Lucas's first birthday party back in February. So that's us.
So wonderful, Marissa. One of the things that I'm interested in is people being aligned, and I look for life work. That's why I say I'm a life work coach, not life work balance, but are you aligned with the work you're to be doing in life that really lights you up? And you have demonstrated it without answering the question that this is what you're meant to be doing right now. And I cannot thank you enough. Yeah, your generosity, the kindness you've had, and the genius you've delivered today, really fantastic. Any last parting words that you have for any guests watching now or in replay?
Oh my gosh, I will just give my flowers, my kudos, my bravo to anyone who is taking the risk and writing a book and putting their words to paper, even if it's on the screen. It is not easy. It is an incredibly vulnerable process, and I really celebrate those who are doing that and going through that world. And I just feel honored to be part of a team that gets to support those who go on that journey. So congrats to all who are considering it. And even if you're questioning yourself in it, go for it. You can do it, as I will tell myself too when the time comes for me to write a book.
Oh, so good. All right, let's go ahead and let everybody off in Streamland go. So everyone, thank you so much for joining another episode, a special edition of the Author Launchpad Livecast with Marissa Eigenbrood. Really an extraordinary opportunity. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it on my replay page. Marissa, I'll make sure that we get you some of the short form content as well. Please. And yeah, everybody else, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks, Chris.